Hello and welcome to the Save the Punter Betting Show, the programme where we do the research for you so you don't have to. Every week we preview the biggest English football games and advise you of where we think there's value to be had to make your sports betting life a little easier. So gents, welcome back. Pete, Ash, great to be with you guys again. I know we took a week off last week because the football was coming a bit too thick and fast for us, and we didn't really feel like we had any value bets. So, Ash, since we last spoke, what's been your betting highlight in that period?
Good question. I haven't really had too many bets. Probably heads in the Super Bowl on the coin toss. I shouted it up to quite a few people. So yeah, I like that one. And what's it? Oh, Naomi Osaka in the tennis. We spoke about it in the New Year podcast, how she'll piss up, and she's now 5 on to win it. So yeah, probably that. So
you had a bet at what price, anti-post?
Kind of 8.0 down to 6.5.
Okay. So the listeners who followed you in there should be pretty happy. And I understand you're going to some live sport tomorrow.
I am. I'm going to Jebel Ali on a Friday. First time I've seen any live sport or horses in a year. Cannot wait.
Do they serve alcohol at the racecourse?
Not at this particular racecourse, no. But as an owner, they do serve free soft drinks and food to your seat, which will be a nice experience.
Okay. And Pete, what about you? A betting highlight or maybe even a low light of the last week?
Well, Ash has just given me a reminder about the Super Bowl when we had blue, the colour of liquid to be poured over the coach to be blue at 8-1. That had to be a highlight because that is a massively beatable market. We've cracked the code on that one. So every year, remember to get involved on that. We know exactly where the value is. People have got it completely wrong. The market is always wrong. Because they look at like what happened last year and what the teams did last year, but it's got nothing to do with what happens. We've cracked it, so remember, come to us for colour of liquid bets at the Super Bowl.
Okay. Well, it's a shame you didn't pass that information on to me. I would have loved
to. I did pass it on to you. And there's evidence in WhatsApp of me passing it on to you.
Okay.
So if you don't act on it, that's on you rather than me.
Speaking of evidence, if we look at the Google Doc, the Premier League Asian Handicap and Goal Scorer leaderboard, we had another good podcast last time out, guys. So it was Aston Villa v Arsenal was particularly good to us because we had 4 winning bets. We had my nap of Villa to win. Pete also had a normal stake bet on Villa +0, which the price of that was almost even money, 1.92. Ash, you had Ollie Watkins first goal scorer each way, which won. And I think we had one more bet in that game. Memory's kind of playing tricks on me, but I remember we did have 4 winners in that game. Maybe it was the goals, I'm not sure. But yeah, good podcast last time out. We had a couple of losers. My bet on Southampton to beat Newcastle didn't come in, but we had some more luck with Everton +1 against Man United. It took a last-minute equaliser for the bet to be a winner rather than a void, but still great selection from us, in my opinion, because we really did think that Everton were being underrated in the market. And actually, do you know what, lads? Maybe I'll kick us off with my nap, a team that I think is underrated in the market. If I had to say to you, guess which team I'm backing to win this week, who would you say?
Probably Everton. I knowing you'll probably say Everton.
Pete? I mean, as much as silence on a podcast is great user experience for anyone listening, I think I'm just going to go right in and say
Wolves.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to put half a point on Newcastle to win away at Manchester United. They're priced at 12-1.
Are they?
Yeah, 13.0 on Smarkets. I make Newcastle a 15% chance of winning. At 13.0, the odds are saying there's only, a 7.7% chance of them winning? So I think the value here is almost double. It's a pure price play. I think United will win, but I've got Newcastle at 6.67, not 13.0. But if Newcastle do win, they'd have as many wins as Wolves and Southampton this season. So despite being a pretty poor team of do-a-job players, they somehow get results. And previously, we've talked about underlying statistics having them 19th or 20th in a lot of suggestive metrics when it comes to goal ratios. They were outperforming these metrics with the most important stats, wins. I think they got 7 wins this season. Now, interestingly, in the last 5 games, things have changed significantly. Their expected goals in the last 5 games is an average of 1.2. Before that, the average was 0.75. That is a huge difference. And if you look at shots, in the last 5 games, they've averaged 14 shots. Before that, their season average was 8. Again, a huge increase. I think there's just a big emphasis on a more attacking approach, which allows them to get more shots off. And remember, this sample even includes a game against Southampton when they were down to 10 men for most of it and down to 9 men for some of it. And actually, of course, you can say, oh, having shots, what's the point? You know, it's Almiron who never gets a shot off on target. But actually, their shots on target's increased from 2.8 per game to 4.2. So, I mean, Pete, Ash, do you reckon Newcastle playing this slightly more attacking version of football, do you think it's going to leave them too open at the back?
Well, they've got defensive issues with injuries, and their striker who actually scores the goals isn't playing. So, yeah, basically they may try and attack more and leave themselves vulnerable to a second-rate defence. And when they attack, they're unlikely to score. I mean, I do originally have Newcastle up as some value here, but yeah, I won't be backing them. I backed them to go down again the other day. I'll probably back them again to go down, to be honest.
You say they're vulnerable at the back, and actually, they were averaging 1.5 to 1.6 XG against them per game. Again, in the last 5, that's gone down to 1.15. So even though they're attacking more, they don't seem to be. They seem to be playing a style of football that doesn't leave them more vulnerable. It's almost like they're forgetting the midfield. Let's just get it to the pacey forward players, get loads of shots off, but then still keep loads of people behind the ball. Pete, what's your thoughts? Have you observed this change in Newcastle? I know a lot of people have put it down to a coaching change. Bruce has brought in a new coach who's been heavily involved in the training sessions and setting up the strategy on the field, with Bruce more just managing the motivation of the players.
Yeah, I do. I have noticed that. I've got 4 of the last 5 games as good performances, apart from the game against Chelsea. I think there was a lot of talk about Bruce and how the fans were sick of it. And he thought, well, if we're going to struggle this much, we're going to get abuse, we might as well just have a go. And it does look to have improved a bit. Again, I think also we're both probably down on Man U compared to the market as well, which factors into it. I think the loss of Wilson is a hit, but I think it's not as big a hit as people think. And yeah, I've got a bet on Newcastle plus 1.5. And yes, I think there is value on Newcastle. It's one of those bets though when you make the bet and then Man U win 2 or 3-0 and you think you feel a bit silly, but then I do think it is value. So,
as we didn't do a podcast last week, we did put some stuff up on the sheet, and I did tweet about it. Timo Werner was 5.0 to be the first goal scorer. That was a cracking each way bet. Now, a striker playing against Newcastle at 5.0 to score the first goal is a great bet, especially if that striker's due to score some goals. Now, Anthony Martial, if he starts, is 5.0, first goal scorer. His expected goals this season is 6.24. He's only scored 4 goals. He gets off 2.58 shots every 90 minutes and is expected to score 0.43, 0.44 goals per game. This is where if I'm having a bet, I'll have one bet on this game probably, and it'll be Anthony Martial, first goal scorer each way at 5.0.
See, I think 5.0 is too skinny for a player like Martial, who is wasteful. However, you really are the first goal scorer each way king. I think if we got everyone in the world in a room, I don't know who's beating you. Souček, Che Adams, Ollie Watkins, time and time again, you deliver. So I can't
He even got a Werner goal.
Exactly.
Antonio against Man City with his overhead kick.
I forgot about that as well. 8.5, 9.5, whatever it was. We can't. Variance is going to hit you one day, but I can't tell the listeners not to back you there. I think we've got to put. If Pete, are you okay with us putting a point on Martial?
I agree with the underperformance because I play a lot of the fantasy DraftKings Premier League, and he's someone I've been putting in my team the last few weeks. It's been killing me because it hasn't been working, but I'm convinced that he's undervalued to that, and I think I assume he's probably undervalued to the goal scorer market as well.
So look, I don't want to put too many points on one game, but we've got half a point on Newcastle to win. We've got a point on Martial, so half a point each way. So basically, if he scores, we kind of get our money back. I also can't see United not scoring, so I want to go for both teams to score at slightly odds against. Hills are even, but Sports Nation and Red Zone are 2.05. And what I also like is both teams to score in overs at 2.3 with Boyle Sports. So I'm really on goals in this game. Ash, you like playing overs and unders quite a bit. Would you be okay with both teams to score at evens 2.05, or is it not a play for you?
I'm not really a both teams to score backer, but I do make overs in this game relative. In fact, I make this game the most likely game to see overs this weekend. So on that basis, I could get on board with both teams to score. Especially if you're going to back Newcastle to win, you might as well back both teams to score as well at odds against, because you expect them to score, and then we're also thinking, well, Man United are going to score, so you get some nice little cover there on your bets and building a decent looking book for the game.
And Pete, you've gone for Newcastle plus 1.5. Because we've already got a lot of points on the game, maybe we'll leave it as the half a point on the win, but we'll log your 1.5 on the spreadsheet as a non-podcast bet. But see, some people say to me, look, why do you go for these crazy long odds wins? Why don't you go for plus a half? And the reason is because I don't think the draw's value. I think there is going to be goals. I don't expect a low amount of goals. So actually, I make the draw bad value. I price the draw up. It just wasn't coming out as a good price for me. Sorry, let me rephrase that. The draw was a decent price, but it just wasn't anywhere near as much value as the win. So I'd rather put my half a point on the win there. So Pete, what's your strongest bet this weekend?
My strongest bet is going to be Brighton minus 0.75 against Palace. We've talked about Brighton all season, how we think they're playing really well, just not getting the results. They had a few good games where they won a couple of games recently, and they've actually won. They've kept 5 clean sheets in the last 6 games. So their defence is good. It's just Mopé, can he score? They create a lot of chances, they don't score. In the last game against Villa, 2.1 expected goals, no goals. So we think Brighton are a good team. And then Palace at the moment, really struggling. I saw a lot of tweets complaining about Palace, delete the club from certain accounts, all this stuff. And I've looked. In the last 11 games, they've got a 25% expected goal ratio. They're really struggling. So I think without Zaha, Brighton are going to dominate the game. And I feel like this could be the time where Brighton just get their goals all in this one game. So I've gone for the minus 0.75 at 2.05, bet 365.
So Ash, why has Palace's shot ratio gone down to, did you say 25%, Pete?
That was the expected goal ratio in the last
goal ratio.
11 games.
Why has that decreased so much, Ash, as someone that watches every single game they play?
Yeah, because of incompetent management, the over-reliance on Zaha, the reluctance to ever show ambition, which means the players know that when they get to 30 points, they can put their feet up. It's a sad state of affairs at the club at the moment. And
you think it's a motivation issue?
Well, yeah, why would you play? There's no need to play. It doesn't matter. Can't go down, never going to play in Europe, can't win the cup. not told to win the cup, what's the point? There's no point in turning up every game. You spend 6 days a week, 7 days a week being told past to Zaha you're not good enough, and then Zaha doesn't play. What do you do? No, fuck it, we don't know what to do now. It's absolute nonsense.
So, which players would you pick out for ones that you don't think are trying that hard?
It's not even not trying. It's just not capable. The defense, actually saying that, the defense are capable. They don't really close down quick enough. Gaeta's having a shocking season. Eze's been the only bright spark, and the reason for that, and the only reason Eze's playing is because Jeffrey Slupp got injured. It's insane. I don't know about the club. I mean, I go back to the 26th of March, 26th of October 2002. It's the first ever Palace Brighton game I went to, and we beat Brighton 5-0. First time we played them in 18 years. It was a glorious day of football, and I actually do feel that come it'll be 2 a.m. my time Monday or Tuesday morning as it will be, we could see Brighton have beat Palace 5-0. When we played them in November, December time, whenever it was, we didn't even have a shot. It was absolutely embarrassing. So to bring it back onto betting, even I'll be back in this. Neil Maupay, 7.84 non-penalty expected goals this season. He has 2.82 shots per game. He's expected to score 0.6 goals every 90 minutes. He's only scored 4 goals this season. He is going to absolutely have a field day against Palace if they play any way like they did against Aston Villa last week. And at 4.5 first goal scorer, I expect him to score. I expect him to do that little crying celebration as well. And I expect me to have the right ump on Tuesday morning.
Okay, so I just want to make people aware that I add the value massively on Palace in this game. However, I think it's not a game that I've looked at in a huge amount of detail. So I'm happy to be outvoted here. So it sounds like we're going to go on Palace to get beaten by hopefully more than 1 goal. Pete's strongest bet is Brighton minus 3/4 of a goal. Ash, it sounds like you're going to have a play on Neil Maupay first goal scorer each way.
Yep.
Again, we'll support that. I mean, the guy, him and Trossard could walk into a gentleman's establishment and walk out without any action. I mean, they're not prolific.
That sounds like me. I do that very often.
Yeah. So Ash, what is your strongest bet? Let's take emotion out of it. Let's forget about Palace. What's going to make you happy?
When Burnley beat West Brom, quite simply. Yeah, we talked about this in the week, and if anyone follows me on Twitter, they would have seen it. Fulham were priced up at 2.45, 2.5 to win at Burnley, and that's a lot to do with XG. Burnley and XG is like a paradox. They're the only team on the planet that can outrun it forever, and they'll do it again. They done it. They didn't get beat at home on Tuesday night against Fulham. West Brom are the worst team in the league by a long way. Forget what happened against Man United. Forget the draws at Man City and Liverpool. Look at the games against like the likes of Leeds and when they crumbled against Palace, for God's sake. Burnley will do a professional job here and they'll win 1-0, 2-0. And I have no doubts about that.
I wonder whether the kind of Big Sam effect is still priced in a little bit, and the market's just a bit slow to react to the fact that one game West Brom seemed to play completely on the edge of their own box. In another game, they seem to try and attack a lot. There isn't really the stamp of a true style there. And I guess with the way teams have had to change the way they train because of the pandemic, he's had less time to really instill a style. He's been very successful previously at going to a club mid-season and rescuing them straight away. Hasn't really had that effect here. Obviously, you point to the marquee result against, I think it was at Liverpool. But Pete, how do you feel on this game? Where would your money be?
Yeah, I've had a bet on Burnley to win. Even Ash talking about the XG there, I've actually got Burnley with 3 games in a row completely dominating the XG. I mean, that's a rarity.
Destroyed Palace at the weekend, both on the pitch and on expected goals. Just further weight to Brighton as well there.
And I think West Brom looked like a good game against Man U, but apart from that, I've not seen enough improvement. And this is the sort of game where Burnley, this is how they stay out. They'll win this sort of game. Yeah, like Ash says, 1 or 2-0, solid at the back. Me and Tarkovsky are going to be back in there. I think Burnley should be odds on. Yeah, I've had a bet on Burnley.
Okay, so I think we've got a full house. So maybe we go 1.5 or 2 points. What's your thoughts, Ash?
I'll go 2 points. I mean, I think Burnley should be like 1.7. You know, that kind of thing, and they're 2.1 out there. I just don't see West Brom scoring. So you're essentially backing Burnley to score a goal against the worst defence in the league at 2.1. That's for me.
My worry is I had the draw as the most value out of the 3 results because I made the draw about 2.86 and it's 3.45. I really did fancy a draw, but let's stick with the Burnley straight win. Happy to do that. What about your next best, Ash? If the listeners were going to put their money on one other game, where do you advise them to have a look?
Well, my next best bet was that Mopay bet, but a little outside one again with the expected goal stuff. Richarlison in the Scouse derby, he's 13.0 for first goal. Now, I don't dislike Liverpool in the way they've played this season, but the issues are still there. They can be got at, and Richarlison, 1, should be on penalties, and 2, should be the main man. I think Calvert-Lewin's probably still out. He's only got 2 goals this season. He should have 4.5. So at 13.0 each way, first goal scorer, in a game that at times has produced ridiculously high scoring matches, I think he can get on the score sheet at some point in this.
Okay.
I've got Calvert-Lewin as playing pretty. I'm pretty confident on that in this game. But anytime you can get Richarlison at 12-1, an attacking player to score, I mean, you can't really argue with that. But
yeah, no, exactly. And he's on penalties. Yeah, we can see a penalty in this. You can see Everton scoring potentially 3 goals. They may concede 5, but it's one of them games at 13.0 in a Scouser derby. I think that it's worth having a roll of the dice and trying to get some good variance there.
Okay. So moving on to the team that are arguably overperforming the most in the league, West Ham. Pete, I understand you want to back them this week as your second strongest bet.
Yeah, I've bet on West Ham a lot of times this season, haven't I? A lot of times. I think they're a good team there, and they're one of these teams where they're sort of just functioning really well as a team. Everyone seems to know what's going on. The cohesion is there, and they're not going to beat themselves. So playing against this Tottenham team, you don't know what's really going on with them. They're such a passive team. So occasionally they'll turn up to this game and Kane and Son will pop 2 or 3 goals in, and you look silly. But they're just so passive. If you look, even for the season, their shots in the box ratio only 43%. For a team that's got Kane and Son, is just silly. And even the last 10-11 games, their shot ratio 41%. They're just not playing that well, and they're just relying on these little moments to win them games. And it's not something I like to rely on. You combine that with the fact that they're playing away tonight in Europe, and they're doing the dreaded away in Europe, away in the league, which I don't like. So I like West Ham to be favourites in this game. So I've backed West Ham on the draw no bet at 1.93. I think that's a good bet.
I mean, in fairness, the away, they're not travelling very far to go to West Ham, are they?
No, but it's not always about travel. It's a bit combined, and then it's just you have to go to different places. It does make an effect, I think, even if it's a London derby. Minimal, but still.
Okay. So West Ham on the draw no bet, you're getting close to evens. Okay. And any other bets you've got up your sleeve for this week?
Yeah. I like goals in the Wolves versus Leeds. Leeds games have always got goals, and you're getting evens or over 2.5. So in any Leeds game, really, even though it is Wolves, but I think Leeds can overpower the Wolves in this sort of game where Wolves is no goals, Leeds loads of goals. I'm going to decide with the goal and go with Leeds over 2.5 at evens.
Yeah, I think Wolves, without Jimenez, they really do struggle to have any threat. I'm not sure about this Willian Jose striker. He hasn't looked too good so far. I know it's early days for him. I feel like Wolves are a team that if they don't have a world-class number 9, they just really, really struggle to function. And as showed with the results. Would you not fancy backing Leeds to win the game?
No, I made the prices about right. I was a bit surprised to me. I thought I might like Leeds, but I didn't.
Okay. So over 2.5 goals at evens. Ashley, would you be a backer of that?
I think I'd just back Leeds instead, to be honest, if I was going to back overs. Yeah, the Wolves aren't very good, are they? Lucky against Arsenal. Lucky they were awful against Southampton. And then got a couple of bits of decent quality. I think that, to be honest, I'm just looking at the price of that now. Leeds are around 2-1. I have Leeds a long way clear of Wolves actually in my numbers. So I'll be back in Leeds this weekend. But yeah, I couldn't put anyone off the overs at odds against in it.
I think I do think Calvin Phillips is a big miss for Leeds. I think the way they play almost completely changes when he's not playing. Especially, and that affects a bit of attacks. Maybe that's why this price is over, but a lot in the defence. I think he's a really good player.
Talking to Calvin Phillips, didn't his nan just die? Like literally, I think his nan died like half an hour ago. Her name was Val. Leeds feel like I don't know how to quantify this, but Leeds feel like the kind of club that would put on a performance for one of their players whose nan's just died. So yeah,
you'll take the edge any way you can get it, won't you?
Yeah, they look like that kind of close-knit club where they can get an extra sort of 0.5% out of their performance or something like that, coming on the back of a 4-2 defeat and having a personal tragedy within the group. Whereas a club like Parris wouldn't give 2 fucks, to be honest, and they go and get beat 3-0 by Burnley the next week. I'll have Leeds to put in a performance here, and at 2-1, I'll back them.
Any other bets before we go, gents?
Yeah, I got. I don't know if I'd love this one because I feel like Villa have been struggling, but I'm just going to take a gamble, and I think play Villa on a draw no bet at 2.13 against Leicester. I'm still not 100% convinced with Leicester, and Villa they've been struggling a bit recently. They played well against. Well, they didn't play that well against Arsenal, but they did. They were the better team. But I think they're going to rebound at some point, and getting odds against at home is a good price.
Yeah, see, I think the value's on Leicester here. I had Leicester at even money. I think Villa are absolutely shattered. I think they need all of their best players playing and firing it close to their best to keep winning and keep doing the job they are. They just don't have anywhere near as much depth as other clubs. Vardy is fit again for Leicester, and he's absolutely key for them. Maddison's in supreme form. Leicester look really slick at the moment. Really, really enjoy watching them. So I would have actually gone for the Leicester win here. So I hadn't quite pulled the trigger on it yet, but I made Villa bad value. I actually thought, do you know what, Villa, I wouldn't even take them at 3-1 in this game because I really think they look absolutely shattered, and I think they're due a bad result. But maybe that's just one we've got to disagree on. Listeners, you can decide who you want to side with there. We've had 6, 7, 8 bets this week, so a good amount, lads. We'll get them all on the spreadsheet for you. please follow us at Save the Punter on Twitter. That's at Save the Punter. And it'd be great if you could leave a review on iTunes. It will help us appear a bit further up the search rankings there, so we can start getting the word out to more people. Oh, we've had 4 reviews since our last podcast. All 5 stars as well, lads. Oh, great stuff. Love the podcast. Great insight and backed up opinions. Presenters all show personality and the content is great. Keep it going.
You made a new account.
Yeah, that's a new fake account. SNH1, thank you for that review. On that note, gents, we'll listeners will love you and leave you, and hopefully we're back next week talking about